Hey, welcome back to my channel. I want to talk about my experience in the job market. It is perfect timing since 6 months ago to the day I was laid off. And so I figured, why not talk about my experience in the job market and my experience in the last 6 months? There might be stuff that comes up from that, and I hope you enjoy this journey that I'm taking you with me on. Hopefully, you relate to some of it. Maybe you don't relate. Maybe this is just entertaining, and I love that for you. We need humor in our lives. And I want to start with the fact that I had a feeling I was going to get laid off. It was a feeling I had since last July when things got weird at my last company. And so I saw the writing on the wall. I put it in my mind. I knew I was getting laid off. I put it in my mind just so I wouldn't be surprised. And I even knew that day that I got laid off because one of my friends, colleagues, colleague at the time called me and said that she had gotten laid off. And I told her on the phone, I'm next. And she was super convinced that I wasn't. I knew I was next. And that's a story for a different day. But I knew I was next. And lo and behold, I was next. And I was freaked out. Not because I was leaving a job I loved. I realized last year that being in talent acquisition as a recruiter and as a manager was not for me. So it wasn't necessarily a job I loved, but it was a job that was paying for things, and I had become accustomed to paying for stuff for myself. And it was a scary time and having to acclimate. And while I found things to both be funny and scary, and I both laughed and cried the day that I got laid off, I let myself feel the feelings. And the reason for that is you're only as resilient as how you let yourself feel. So if you're always in this positive outlook, and it's great if you're genuinely in a positive outlook, but if you're not and you're forcing the issue, lean into your emotions. I can't tell you how much it has helped me to do so. And it actually makes you more resilient because you have to also bring yourself out of the wallowing, bring yourself out of that. And that's what makes you resilient. It's not staying positive or having a positive outlook all the time. It's how do you get yourself out of the feeling of anger, frustration, and all of that. And I, in the last 6 months, have gone back and forth with all of my emotions. And I didn't just try to power through it. I put on a brave face for a lot of people in my life because I didn't want them to worry about me. They had enough to worry about. But it's okay to feel the feelings. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be frustrated. So, tangent aside, it's very important for me to say that because a lot of times people feel like, oh, if I just stay positive and if I just do this, things will be okay. And yeah, things will be okay. Like things will be okay. It's only when you stay in those feelings of sadness and you wallow in anger, wallow in sadness, wallow in frustration that things don't go your way. It's when you bring yourself out of that, not only have you become stronger from it, but you're able to move forward. So I want to say that because I went through that and I don't want to downplay it. I don't want to say I just had a positive outlook because I haven't. That wasn't my journey like at all, but I did bring myself out of it. Every time I was in it, I clocked it. I allowed myself to feel, whether I just started crying out of the blue, whether I was just angry. I threw on my favorite, I think her name is Krista DePaula, my favorite kickboxing instructor on YouTube, put her videos on and like worked out until my aggression was gone. I just did things to feel that and be in it. It's going to be so helpful for you during this job process because I'm going to tell you right now, no matter how much of a positive outlook you have, no matter how positive, rose-colored glasses, all of that you see the world in to help you get through, those feelings don't go anywhere. Those feelings are still there. You're just gritting your teeth as you're pretending to smile and process. Just process them. It's okay. Just don't stay in them, right? That's key. And that's how you build resilience, not staying positive. That's not how you build resilience. Staying positive is how you shove stuff down so you become a volcano later. Don't be a volcano. I mean, no, that's right. Don't be a volcano. I stand by that. So, anywho, first 3 months, right? First 3 months of my layoff, I started applying to jobs. I get laid off. I'm sad. I'm crying. The next day, I go get noodles. Noodles are my comfort food. I have a very favorite restaurant out here that where I live that I love so much. It's my comfort place. And and then there's a Middle Eastern restaurant that I really love out here, and that is an indulgence because that place is expensive, but it's good. So I tend to go to the noodles place more than I go to the other place. And I think I've only been to the other place once in the last 6 months, possibly twice if my dad is paying. But yeah, I picked myself up, I gave myself my comfort meal, and I started applying to jobs. Now, I stayed in panic mode, so I applied to 10 jobs a day, which I do not recommend. I don't recommend applying to 10 jobs a day, given the amount of applicants that are applying for the same jobs you are. If you're a career transitioning like I do, you're going to get so many more rejections than you do get interview requests. And that, imagine getting 20 rejections in a day and then getting roughly slightly less, slightly more rejections every day for like a week. Do not apply to 10 jobs a day, like at all. But you know what you can do? You can do research on companies that you like or areas or industries that you're looking for. Check for growth, check for all of that. That's what I wish I did in the first 3 months. I wish I would have given myself a little bit more time to do a little bit more research before I started applying to jobs. But that's how I process. And it might be an astrological thing, it might not be, I don't know. It might just be who I am, how I was raised. But yeah, I just kept applying to jobs, any jobs. And I did get interviews. I got interviews there was one company I interviewed with in the beginning. It was my first interview since I got laid off. Super excited about it. The company industry was fine. Like, I love being in an industry I've never been in before because it's a new challenge. It's a new learning curve. I love a challenge. And I very much, and I will say this, very much respected this company and how they handled the interview process, how they respected my time. And when they canceled the position, they let me know right away. Right away. I did not know that they were the exception to the rule until the other interviews I had. I had interviews with a couple more companies. One company kept asking me questions. The recruiter at that company kept asking me questions, and I didn't answer it the way that she wanted, and she got frustrated because I didn't answer it the way that she wanted. I answered it based off of my experience and what I've done and haven't done and what I hope to do. And I can't answer questions with the terminology that they want if I don't know what terminology that they want, right? So that was probably the worst interview at, well, not the worst, but one of the worst interviews. And then I got interviews to two companies that I was very excited about. One company I had interviewed with over the holiday season, and I figured there would be delays and all of those things. And there was another company later on that I applied to. Oh, and I also forgot, I did apply to a company that was on site. It was like a banking company, and they didn't reject me until 3 months later, which was hilarious because I knew that I wasn't getting that job, and even if they offered me the job, I would have turned it down. And I had followed up to, because at the time I didn't know if I was going to turn it down or not. And then I followed up and nothing, crickets. And then 3 months later, I got a rejection. Oh, we chose someone for the role, which, yeah, like I knew that. I could have told you that 2 weeks after I interviewed and I heard no words from anyone. But the other two, back to the other two I actually liked, the other two companies I interviewed with, one company I had 2 interviews. I interviewed with the hiring manager and I was on cloud nine because the manager had told me I would be a great culture fit. Like, that's great. And then I didn't hear from them. I followed up, didn't hear from them. And then about 3 months later on my birthday, I got this job is canceled, which would have been way better if I had received it maybe a couple weeks or a few weeks after the fact, or if they kept me in the loop as to what was going on. But would I ever apply to that company again? No, because they mishandled me in a way that made me feel disrespected. So the way a company handles you through this process is the way that they're going to handle you when you get hired. So if you are good with being mishandled through the interview process and all of that, expect it to be just as chaotic when you're getting into the job. And if you're good with that, cool. I have already experienced that. In all of my jobs, I have had straight and pure chaos. And I realized that that was not good for my mental health. It wasn't good for my work-life balance. They wanted 110% of me, even though they said they didn't. The amount of work that they had given me said different. So with that, you do what's best for you. Now the other job I will never, I still haven't heard from the other job, ghosted to the max, had me interview with 5 people. And since this isn't monetized, I'm gonna say it, 5 fucking people I had to interview with. The worst interview I had ever had was a guy who I felt held me hostage in the interview for an hour and a half. The way this man was uninterested in anything I said, but I had to sit there because in an interview, you can't be the one that leaves because it tanks your chances of getting the job. And I didn't want this interview to cloud all the great interviews that I had prior to. But they ghosted me. So the guy who interviewed me, that was like the worst interview ever I had experienced, that has to be who they are as a whole. Wasting time and not respectful of your time. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when I was interviewing people, if I didn't like you, I wasn't keeping you on the line. And I don't mean like you as a person. I mean when you're saying stuff in the interview and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, or it's left, or you said some real terrible things that you didn't realize because you have unconscious bias and you were just spouting things that you thought me and you were on the same level and we're not, because I'm like, this is not going to work for this culture at all. You're too mean. Yeah, I cut it short. And the reason for that is I don't want to waste people's time that I'm not going to move forward with. That was not this company's thought process. And I do say that there are a lot of companies that the ones that do move through the process quickly, like the first interview I had after my layoff, there are probably a lot more of those companies than the companies I'm talking about. I think we're experiencing more of the companies I'm talking about mainly because we are entering into, there's so many applicants for a job and there's so many things happening. But I know people in the recruiting field, in that industry, in the talent acquisition industry, internal, external, whatever. And, the first interview is not supposed to be the exception. It's supposed to be the rule, the way that the first recruiter handled, the first company handled it. And all the other ones, I think it's the frustration. It might be the economy. It might be that it's not what they wanted, but they had to move forward this way. And they didn't want to disappoint anyone, all of that. I'm here to say, disappoint us, disappoint us. Like, I know that that's not your intent, but now, like, my viewpoint of you is now soured because of how you weren't upfront and honest. I rather upfront and honest, because I'm gonna tell you right now, not hearing from you is worse. Ghosting is not even a part of the dating game anymore. It's now reached the application game for jobs at companies, and that is not right. It's also not professional. That was the first 3 months. The next 3 months, although the rejections did come in the next 3 months, but I was already over it by the time that happened. So the next 3 months, I decided that job application could not be my whole life. I could not spend 3 to 4 hours a day applying to jobs and getting rejections and then getting disappointed and then, you know, just having that anger flare up and all of that. It just wasn't good. And job application burnout is a real thing. Don't downplay it because you don't have a job. You can't experience the same amount of burnout as people with a job, and you can't you shouldn't complain. Your feelings are just as valid as anybody else who has a job. Like, you're looking for a job. It's hard work to look for a job. You're getting rejection. You're not getting appreciation for the time spent. You have to give yourself appreciation. You have to give yourself kudos and really lift yourself up through this process. So honestly, complain. It's okay to complain. Just don't complain all the time and consistently and constantly, because that does get annoying. It gets annoying with everything, not just with jobs. Just as a rule, don't do that. I sometimes do not take my own advice, and people in my family will tell you I will repeat myself a lot because I would forget that I said it, but because I'm so annoyed with it, I will say it again. And like, yeah, we already know that you've told us. So, keep it keep it to the original time frame as to when you are feeling it, and don't bring it up again. I decided that I wasn't going to rely on just doing job applications, right? And during this time, it wasn't just job applications. I was also refreshing my skills in SQL, and I haven't done that in the last few weeks because I needed a break from all of those things. It was becoming too much. And I decided to lean into my creativity. I started my YouTube channel. I started it in the beginning of March. I wanted to lean into my creativity. I started writing again. I'm trying out creating t-shirts that are really in line with my chaotic energy. I'm building an app that's for journaling. I wanted to do other things besides applying to jobs. Now, to the applying to jobs part, I did focus on areas and industries I would be interested in, and I would have the most fun in, and I would love to learn more about those types of industries. And I find that to be interesting to me. So those were the types of jobs that I was looking for. And so I honed in on what I wanted. So that is where I'm at right now, and that is what I'm experiencing right now. Now let's talk about some funny things that are happening besides the fake jobs. As we've talked about in my last video, yeah, companies are posting 40% of the jobs that you're seeing are fake. They're fake because companies want to show growth. They're not fake because there are so many scammers that are flooding the market with fake jobs. No, there are legit companies that are posting these jobs, so you don't know if it's a fake job or not. So you apply to it hoping that it's not, right? And it's so that they show that their company is growing, that their company is in growth mode when it's not. So they'll post, repost, we didn't find the right candidate, we've had to change. Oh no, there's a restructuring, blah, 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 blah. And then you'll see the similar positions or different positions, but at the same company that seems to always be posting but never hiring. Like every quarter, roughly around when they're talking about growth and stocks and all of that. So I wish I can tell you how to find out if any of these jobs are fake. The only ones I can tell you is the scammer ones. Those ones, I had one from a scammer who said that they were from O'Reilly and they were going to offer me the job. And I was like, yeah, I'm not um, no, this feels unreal. Like I didn't even interview. What do you mean you're offering me the job? I didn't even interview for the position. So there's a new thing that's coming on the market. So I will say this is probably the funniest thing I've read, given what I found out about the jobs that are being posted that are fake. There are now fake job seekers, so which are upsetting hiring managers who are trying to hire job seekers, and I assume these job seekers are putting all of the all of the things that companies want and presenting themselves as the perfect candidate. And then they get asked to interview and they're fake. They're not real job seekers. And I find this to be funny and upsetting, but mainly funny because given how things are unfolding in the job market and what job seekers have been saying and have been saying for months, because I see it a lot. I've seen a lot of conversation about ghosting, about not getting back to us, about all of these things. So hearing the reverse is interesting because rarely can fake job seekers really get through to the process because they shouldn't be getting to the hiring manager. The recruiter should be like sussing that out before. So I find that to be interesting that not only did they trick the ATS system, they also tricked the phone interviewer. It was wild behavior out of all of these people that are, like out of all of this. So, just be aware of all the things, and this might make it either harder or easier. They might be more relaxed on job requirements, or they might tighten it. I don't know. Find this hilarious and both frustrating, that whole thing. So just be aware. If applying to a certain job is causing you this much distress, try a different approach. I've used ChatGPT and AI for a lot of things, and while I know it's become like a bad word, use it to your advantage. I put up my resumes when I was getting really frustrated, especially since I know it takes so long for career transition. I was getting frustrated in the process. I threw my resumes up and I said, what should I apply for? And it said data analyst. And it made me feel like I was in the right of that. I mean, I do all the other stuff because I also want to pay respect to my creative side. And it helps navigate the job application process, having hobbies and having other things to do. I do community service. I apparently create t-shirts now and deal with apps now, create apps now. But you could do whatever, like if you want to work with your hands, work with your hands, build stuff, sell it on Etsy, eBay, whatever, build things, paint things, do whatever makes you happy during this process, because you're going to need something that makes you feel like you're accomplishing something. Because if you're hoping that the job application process, the job market is going to make you feel like you're accomplishing something, I'm sorry, it's not going to do that. It's going to make you feel like you're not doing enough, and that's not true. Thank you so much for joining me. Click subscribe, follow, enjoy.